I had not expected her to look like that. In 20 years of ruling Veldharo, I had received envoys, tribute, and petitioners of every kind, merchants with their ledgers, rival alphas with their honor guards, elders with their grievances. None of them had ever made my wolf go still. She arrived on foot. The pack elders of Dunreach walked ahead of her, 3 of them in their ceremonial gray, with the look men wear when they are delivering something they do not value. Elder Brant, the eldest of them, spread his hands wide in the manner of a man offering a gift he is glad to be rid of. Alpha King, he said, the Dunreach pack presents its tribute debt in full. The girl is called Senna. Her father contracted the debt. He could not pay it. She is what remains. Behind him she stood quietly. She was not cowering. That was the first thing I noticed, and the thing that made my wolf, who had been silent for longer than I could count, lift its great gray head inside my chest. She stood in a traveling cloak that was worn at the hem and too thin for the mountain cold, her hands folded, her eyes forward, not defiant, not frightened, simply present, with a composure that seemed to come from somewhere very deep, the way a candle holds its flame steady in a room where the windows are open to the wind. I heard my own court murmur behind me. Someone near the eastern column said it plainly. The sold girl. He couldn't even pay with coin, sent his daughter instead. There was laughter, low and careless, the way cruelty sounds when it does not expect to be answered. She did not flinch. I said nothing then. I ordered the elders housed for the night and the tribute formalities set for the following morning, and I watched her follow a steward toward the servants' quarters with the same composed step with which she had crossed my courtyard. My wolf watched her go. I did not sleep. Before dawn, when the mountain cold turns the stone of the keep a shade of blue it holds for only 1 hour, I walked the lower courtyard. My beast requires open air, and the high walls of Veldharo frame enough sky to quiet him. It was there that I found her, in the healing pens along the east wall, where my pack brought injured wolves to recover. A young wolf, barely more than a pup, had come in the previous evening with a deep gash along his flank and had refused every one of my healers, pressing himself into the corner, trembling as animals in pain will do when they no longer trust a hand. He was lying with his great head in her lap. She sat on the cold stone floor, her worn cloak pooled around her, and she was speaking to him. I could not hear the words from where I stood, only the sound of her voice, low and steady, the cadence of someone who knows that it is not the meaning, but the warmth that an animal understands. Her hand moved along his side in long, unhurried strokes, and the wolf, who had refused my finest healer for 6 hours, had his eyes closed. I stood at the gate of the healing pen, and I felt it. It was not dramatic, the way the old stories describe it. No crack of lightning, no blinding light. It was more like a key long carried in a pocket, and finally, after years, pressed into the correct lock. Something in my chest turned. My wolf, who had been quiet for so long that I had half believed he would be quiet forever, rose to his feet. She looked up then and saw me. There was a moment, only a moment, where her composure wavered the way a flame wavers before it steadies. She began to rise the way servants do in the presence of an alpha king. Don't, I said quietly. He'll wake. She stilled. The wolf's side rose and fell. After a moment, the ghost of something, not quite a smile, but the shadow of one, moved across her face, and she returned her hand to the wolf's flank. I stayed at the gate until the light changed and the healers arrived for the morning watch. My wolf did not want me to leave. The tribute ceremony was held that morning in the Great Hall. Veldharo's Great Hall is old, older than my grandfather's grandfather, built when the mountain keeps were first raised, and the iron seals were set above their thresholds. The seal above our Great Hall is the oldest of all, a disc of black iron forged by my ancestor Calum I, who ruled when the moon-blessed lines were still many. The old records say the seal was made to recognize only one thing, the blood of the line his kingdom swore to shelter, the last of the moon-gifted lineage, who had healed and guarded these mountains before the Pax, rose to power. In 300 years, the seal had not spoken. My grandfather called it a legend. My father called it a memory. I had largely stopped thinking of it at all. Senna walked through the great hall doors at the 9th hour of the morning. The seal above the threshold blazed, not red, silver, a pure cold silver light that flooded the doorway in the first 10 feet of the hall, and every head turned and the hall went absolutely silent. I was standing at the far end, beside the elder's table, and I watched it happen. I watched the light find her the way dawn finds the highest peak first, the highest, and then nothing else. She stopped walking. She looked up at the seal, and I could see, even from that distance, that she was trembling, not with fear, but with the effort of holding herself very still in the presence of something enormous. Her hands had pressed together before her, and her lips had parted. I was already moving. I crossed the hall in the silence that only falls in places where something true has just occurred, something that cannot be argued with. The elder Brant had risen from his chair and was opening his mouth, some reflex of authority, some instinct to explain or diminish what had just happened. I did not look at him. I stopped before her. She looked up at me. Her eyes were the color of deep water in winter, and in them I could see that she understood what the seal meant, or was beginning to understand it, the way a person who has been cold for a very long time begins to feel the warmth of a fire and cannot yet decide whether to trust it. Your father, I said quietly, only for her, did not send you here as a debt. She shook her head slightly, not understanding. He sent you here, I said, because he knew what you were, because he had the old records and he had kept them, and he had been waiting for the moment to bring you to the one place where it could not be denied. I paused. A father's silence is sometimes the most devoted thing a man can give. Her breath caught. I reached for the cloak, my cloak, the heavy fur-lined wool of Veldharo's alphas that had not left my shoulders in 20 years of rule. I settled it around hers. It was too large, and it pooled at her feet, and she stood inside it the way something precious stands inside a thing made to keep it safe. I turned to the hall. Her name, I said, and my voice carried to every corner of that old stone room, is Senna, of the moon-blessed line of the old wardens. The iron seal of Veldharo has spoken her blood. She is the heir my ancestors swore 300 years to shelter. I let that land, and she is my fated mate. The elder Brant sat down. He sat down as if the air had gone out of him, and the two elders beside him did the same. And then the whole of my court, the warriors, the healers, the ranking pack members who had murmured the souled girl the evening before went to their knees, one after another, the way a field of grain bends in a single long wave when the wind moves across it. She saw it. I felt the moment it reached her, the slight intake of breath, the way her hands steadied, the lifting of her chin, so small and so dignified, the composure that had never truly left her finding its full height at last. I offered her my hand. She looked at it for a moment, and then she placed hers in it, and the mate bond sealed between our palms like a warmth long withheld, and finally, Given and my wolf, who had been silent for more years than I had words for, made a sound inside my chest that was not quite a howl and not quite a sigh, but was, I think, the closest thing to peace I had ever felt him offer. Her father had known. He had sent her here not because he could not keep her, but because he understood, as fathers who love without limits sometimes do, that the greatest thing he could give her was not safety in a small place, but her rightful place in the world that had been waiting for her all along. She became Luna of Veldharo before the first snow of that winter fell, and the mountains, which are very old and remember everything, kept the record of it, the silver seal above the great doors, which never went dark again,